Hello and welcome to Thursday Thoughts. Thursday Thoughts? What on earth are they, I hear you ask? Well, my friend Lucy and I meet every week over on Instagram to talk all things personal growth because she is as obsessed with it as I am. And we decided that we might as well put those conversations out as a weekly podcast. So now you can listen to us chat here on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or wherever you listen to your podcasts. And we'll be talking about topics such as spirituality, limiting beliefs, the ego, imposter syndrome, gratitude, meditation, confidence, and so much more. So if you're ready, here we go.
So today we've decided to talk about confidence, which I wasn't feeling very much of a couple of minutes ago. Would you like to start? Would you like me to start? I don't mind.
The reason I kind of thought this would be a good one is because really, quite often I don't feel very confident. But then there are certain times where I do, and I feel, and I was kind of thinking, what is it which makes someone feel confident or not? Because we all have self-doubt, and that self-doubt can really stop you from doing things. And so for me, I don't know, I'm just really thinking about what is confidence to me, because I think it kind of means different things to different people. And I have always thought of confidence more of a practice. So it should really be a verb to confidence, because I don't think you can, we all kind of think, when I'm confident, I'm going to do that thing, or when I'm confident, I can go and speak on a stage, or when I'm confident, but actually, that's never you're not just going to suddenly be confident. What you have to do is you've got to kind of take the actions, you've got to practice confidence, you've got to take those small little steps. And the more you do that, you'll become more competent in something. And it's really that with that competence that you become more confident. And it's kind of like a constant sort of moving forward of taking actions. And that, I think, is the only way to become confident. Because I honestly have spent most of my life feeling not very confident. And I got to a point where I was just like, I'm so bored of kind of telling myself that story of like, oh, I'm not a very confident person, I don't have much confidence. And I was like, I'm fed up with that, because actually there's so many examples in my life where actually I've completely bossed it and I have been very confident. And that's really, there's not much truth in that I might have felt riddled with guilt and not guilt, self-doubt, and felt not very confident, but actually some of the things I've achieved, it's like, oh my God, yeah, I can do that. So I think that's where I'm coming from. It's like, I don't know if you ever arrive and go, ta-da, I'm really confident. I think it's just a constant practice of stretching, like what we've talked about before, kind of stretching out of your comfort zone and just practicing competence. So yeah, I don't know what you think about that.
No, I totally agree, Polly. And funny enough, I heard the thing that weirdly, I did a newsletter about this just a few weeks ago about confidencing, and I heard somebody called, do you know Simone Grace Soul? I think I meant, yeah. So, and she talks about exactly what you just said about confidence being a verb and how it's something that you sort of make a decision to do. And I'm so I couldn't agree more with that. And funny enough, go sort of with my kind of history of confidence or lack thereof, I, like you, feel like I've spent most of my life being really not very confident. But ironically, I can come across as quite confident. I think I have a sort of an air about me that just looks as if I'm really confident, but I'm not. It's just, do you know what I mean? Like, it's funny how some people have, when I've sort of said to people before that, oh, if I've said I'm not feeling very self-confident, people frequently say to me, but you come across as really confident. And I think that's really interesting, that you can be one thing on the surface and be feeling completely different underneath. But going back to what you were saying, I couldn't agree more that confidence comes from, I think it's a combination of courage and action. And like so many things in life, and again, going back to getting out of your comfort zone, I think in order to grow self-confidence, you have to have that little bit of courage that helps you take the action. And once you've taken the action, that's where your confidence comes from. It's not something that you necessarily go into something with confidence. Like you have to, it's like a muscle, like you were saying, you have to stretch it and you have to grow it. But I think a lot of people, you mentioned that you were sick of telling that story. And, the words that we say to ourselves are so incredibly important. That negative self-talk is having so much more of an effect on our lives than we realize. And if we continue to tell ourselves a story that we're not confident, then that story is going to continue to play out. So we have to start telling ourselves a different story. And that's a whole other subject. But I think, when it comes to confidence, like anything else, you have to tell yourself the story that you want to see in your life. And then it will kind of come to fruition. But no, I think I've often said that confidence is one of those things that if I could kind of bottle it up and just take like a swig of it every day, I absolutely would. Because like so many other things, it holds us back from doing things that we want to do. And that's another reason why, rather than just expecting to suddenly one day feel confident when we've done this or we've done that, or we're more of this or we're more of that, it really is about just making a decision to take the action, and with action comes confidence. And also I think self-confidence is also to do with keeping your sort of word to yourself, which sounds really silly, but if you do the things that you say you're going to do consistently, then that builds your confidence muscle. That sort of grows your self-confidence. Whereas if you're one of those people who's constantly saying that you're going to do something and then you don't do it, then subconsciously you're losing confidence in yourself. So I think it's also a lot to do with just doing the things that you say you're going to do, because that builds confidence in you. It just always makes me think of that Sound of Music song. I have confidence alone.
Oh my God.
That amazing Maria song. I love it.
But it is one of my favourite films. It still is one of my favourite films. Love that film. Yes, that's so good. And yeah, she was like really like, yes, I can do it. I can do it. Yeah, I totally. Yeah, I love that. It's so for example, it's just doing those small steps. If you think about sort of exercise, for example, if you were to suddenly go, right, I'm going to go and run a marathon, and you're not really a big runner, you're not going to be able to do it, and you're not going to have any confidence to do it. But if you just, you've got to start small and set yourself really small goals. And then when you achieve it, you can have a little celebration and you're like, yes, I can do it. And that builds a little bit more confidence. So next time you can do a little bit more. And that is the process of it. It's kind of really giving yourself that new identity of like, I am successful at this. But if you try and set yourself too big a goal to start with, then you're going to fail, and you're not going to stick with it firstly. So you're not going to have those examples that you can do it, and you're going to just constantly be, every time you do it, go, oh well, I failed, I can't do it. But I think you need to have evidence as well to help you grow in confidence. One thing I've started, which I've been doing actually for a while, since I've been trying to grow my business and all that sort of thing, which I do, and I'm not sure if you do this, Lucy, but every time I get a lovely message of someone telling me, saying, oh, I really enjoyed that podcast episode, or thank you so much for that session you just did with me, or anything positive, I screenshot it and I put it in a folder on my phone. So I've got this little folder on my phone now, which is growing, which whenever I'm kind of feeling a bit like, oh my God, I'm, really self-doubting myself, and should I be doing this? And I don't feel very confident at all. I just have a little scroll through there. And some people might be going, oh my God, how big-headed of you. But it's not that. It's just a reminder that actually I can do this. And that there is real evidence that I can be confident, and it's totally possible. And I think that's so often when we are doubting ourselves, you've got to ask yourself, is what I'm telling myself, are those stories I'm telling myself, are they actually true? So when you actually have hardcore evidence in front of you to show you that yeah, no, I can do this. It's so helpful.
Yeah, completely. And actually, I do have, I have an email folder where I put, so, you know, and I'm sure you've had the same, I get such amazing emails from listeners to the podcast, and I put them in a folder. And exactly that, when you need to feel a bit more confident in yourself, you can go back and read them. And like you say, it's nothing to do with being arrogant at all. It's not, it's just not about that. It's just a way of building your confidence muscle. And one thing that you said just now, Polly, which I just wanted to pick up on, is that sort of concept of just taking small steps. And I think, and feeling, you know, feeling into the successful version of you. And weirdly, my newsletter just yesterday, I do one every Sunday, and yesterday I was talking about embodying the future version of yourself, and how when we sort of embody that future version of ourselves, and we sort of lean into the feelings of how we actually want to feel when, you know, when we get there, it works bloody miracles. And also the concept of sort of, I think sometimes when we want to do something, and I know that in my life I've had it before many times, where I've wanted to do something, but it feels so overwhelming and so huge, and you just feel so not confident about it that you just don't do it. And in actual fact, with anything in life and anything that you want to become successful at, it really is that kind of thing where it's all about the very unglamorous, tiny little things that you're doing that nobody else sees. Those are the things that are building your confidence. At least that's how I feel. And, you know, for example, for both of us doing a podcast, it's showing up every week and being consistent and putting your voice out there. And at the beginning, it feels like, oh my God, you know, I'm never going to get anywhere, and I've only got however many downloads, and oh my God, this is just too hard. But I think if we just break things down into tiny little chunks, and just literally, I have a post-it note on my window that says, what are the exact words? It says, just keep moving forward. And I find it so helpful, and it's literally there. It's, you know, on the window, like behind my desk. Just keep moving forward. And I find it really helpful because it does remind me that every time you just take one more little baby step, that's one more step than taking no steps. And ultimately, the difference between where you are now and where you're going to be in a year is all about the little tiny steps that you're taking every day that don't feel in the moment like they're getting you very far. But in a year or 5 years, you're going to look back and go, shit, you know, I'm so proud of myself that I did that. And with those tiny steps comes confidence. And also, I have to bring up the other C word, courage, because I think that courage is so crucial in building confidence, because you have to, before you get confident at something, you have to find just a tiny bit of courage to take that first step, and with that comes the confidence. I think I mentioned that earlier on in this, but I really believe that courage is just, you know, confidence comes after courage. Courage, you know, it's not the confidence that comes first, it's the courage that comes first, which then leads to the confidence. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. And I think the hardest thing for people is that courage, you know, finding that courage from within. And that really, I believe, can be when getting support is really helpful, because that can really help you take that first step, have that courage, and then have that accountability to be able to continue. And I think that's what so many of us struggle with, is someone to, you know, it's so nice knowing that someone's got your back. If you, to be able to kind of go, to tell you, say, yes, right, you can do this. Because if you're just doing it on your own, it's very easy then to just go, oh no, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do that thing. But when you've got an accountability buddy, or you've got a coach or someone like that to really hold your hand through it and go, you can do that. Someone who can believe in you before you can actually believe in yourself. And that's what they're holding that vision for you. Before you're able to fully hold that vision yourself. And I'm going back to you saying about the visualization. I mean, that's so powerful, to actually spend time visualizing yourself and feeling how it's going to be when you do whatever it is, you achieve whatever goal you've set yourself. But doing that visualization and feeling it can be just it can get you into that feeling of confidence, which will help spur you on. When I did my hypnotherapy training, that is one thing which, it was one of the first things we were taught, in terms of you can go into sort of your mind and you can almost anchor in that visualization. You can really sort of turn up the dial on all of those feelings that you feel. You can remember a time when you felt super confident, and you dial up those feelings, and you see what you see, hear what you heard, feel what you felt. And then you can just literally press two fingers together or something, and you just literally anchor it into your brain, into your unconscious mind. So that if you want to bring that feeling back another time, you just need to go something like, hold your fingers like that together, and you'll get those feelings of confidence. So, I mean, it's better when you're slightly under hypnosis to be able to do that, but really anybody can do that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So yeah.
No, completely. And I don't think enough people realize that just talking about the subconscious mind, it's because at the end of the day, the subconscious mind is running the show. And I talk about this a lot on the podcast, and it's something I'm slightly obsessed with, to be honest. And we all should be, because what a lot of people don't realize is that 95% of what we're doing, what we're thinking, what we're feeling, what actions we're taking is being driven by our subconscious beliefs. And the vast majority of our subconscious beliefs we didn't choose. They were given to us when we were kids, from our parents, from people around us, and all the rest of it. So but the great thing about the subconscious mind is that it does not know the difference between the truth and what's not true, which is why things like, because I think some people can think, what do you mean, visualize how you're going to feel? Like, what a load of bollocks. But actually, it's not. It works, because in order to literally rewire our subconscious minds, we have to start telling ourselves the stories that we want to believe and that are going to serve us. And so, going back to what you're saying about the visualization, when we literally feel into, like, say, for example, we've got a speech and we're not feeling confident. So we want to help ourselves feel more confident. Actually, if we can visualize the feeling and feel the feeling of confidence, what it does is it tells our subconscious brain that that is the truth and that is what we're feeling. And our brain is always going to go, for the easiest option. It's going to go to that, the path in our mind that is the analogy I always use with clients here is that, our brain is full of neural networks, and the stories that we've been telling ourselves and the beliefs that we have there, if you imagine all the neural networks to be like a road, and the ones that we've been telling ourselves, like, I'm not good enough or I'm not confident, they're like the size of the M25. For anyone not in the UK, the M25 is a massive, great freaking 4-lane hideous road that goes around the whole of London. And then the beliefs that would serve us are perhaps more like a little A road, like a really, like a bridle path. And what we need to do is start telling our subconscious the things that we want it to believe, and just to really build those roads so that those neural pathways of the things that we want to believe get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And that is why things like affirmations and things like visualization, I feel so, they're such game changers, because that is one of the ways that you can literally rewire your subconscious mind. So when you lean into the feeling of confidence through a visualization, or you speak out affirmations, or you listen to affirmations, or you say affirmations in your head, then it really, your subconscious starts to believe that. And when your subconscious starts to believe something, then you start to take actions that align with the things that you want, rather than the things that you don't want. I don't know whether I said that very articulately.
Yeah, no, totally. Yeah, absolutely. And it works. So it's kind of, I use the same analogy. I always think that some of those new neural pathways which you want to create are almost like an overgrown bridleway with weeds, and you've got to basically hack all of those kind of that overgrowth back and create a path, and then you widen it with all of this sort of stuff. And another great way of doing that as well is with hypnotherapy. It's so powerful because you are talking directly to the mind, to that unconscious, subconscious mind. And it's just amazing how you can reprogram those neural pathways to speed up those, and the process of widening those neural pathways. And that's why it can really, it's just so powerful. So it is about kind of almost tricking the mind to start believing new stuff. And as you say, it doesn't matter if you don't fully believe it initially, because actually you've got, if you visualize it, you can and feel it will work, but you might not necessarily believe it. Do you know what I mean? Obviously, if you believe it, it's going to make it much easier, but you've just got to keep practicing. Yeah. And it's those actions, it's kind of coupled with all of the steps that you're taking is going to increase your confidence. I mean, I say all this, and I'm not by any means an expert in terms of my own confidence, because it's constantly growing. But I look back to where I was, and it's honestly, it's worked so much for me. And I just look back, again, talking about our podcasts, Lucy. When I started my podcast, I was so unconfident in what I was doing. And year on, just because I've done those weekly daily actions, I can now turn up to a podcast interview and feel like I kind of know what I'm doing, and I know it's okay. I know it's going to be okay.
Totally. Podcast interviews are a really good example of that, because completely the same as you, when I first started the podcast and I was doing regular interviews, well, I'm still doing regular interviews all the time, as are you, but I was exactly the same in that my confidence was so much less than it is now, and I would be so nervous about an interview, like so nervous, and I would feel like I needed like hours of prep, and I needed to know everything about this person, and I've done all the research and like written all the questions, and I would I would allow so much time to prepare for an interview. Whereas now, if I've got an interview in an hour and I haven't done any prep, I'm not freaking the fuck out. I'm just like, okay. And because my confidence has grown, because I've been doing this over and over again, and building that neural pathway in my brain that I can do this, and I'm confident doing this. Now, if I haven't done any prep, I don't freak out, and I'm just like, I can put it this way, I can leave it till pretty much the last minute and know that it will be okay. And that comes from having built that confidence muscle in myself, being able to conduct a decent interview, pretty much every time. I say that my next interview will probably be absolute rubbish now, but
and that's this though, doing what we're doing. Exactly.
Yeah.
I've seen you, so I was doing this a bit before you in terms of going, on putting myself down. But I have watched you go from someone who you were terrified of even doing a recorded video on Instagram, and you've been so brilliant. You've practiced, and you've just put stuff out there, and now look, you're totally so much more confident. You're completely rocking it. So it's amazing how you just got to, as you say, have that little bit of courage and do the things, because it kind of works.
Yeah, no, totally. Thank you, by the way, you're very kind. And the same, I mean, right back at you, for sure. I think both of us have, over the course of the time that we've been doing our podcast, grown in confidence. And like, again, it's a muscle that you have to build. One thing that I just wanted to go back to that you were saying about believing when you're doing affirmations, when you're doing a visualization, I think this is partly why I think people kind of recoil at the idea of doing affirmations, because when I don't speak my affirmations out, I listen to them. So
my dog, sorry, is really fast. He's so bad.
Oh my God.
Sorry, carry on.
Oh, no. Bless him.
Sorry.
Don't worry. I'm just glad I'm not in the room with you.
A very quick break to ask you to hit the follow or subscribe button if you haven't already. And if you're enjoying this episode, I'd be super grateful if you could hit those stars and rate it too. Thank you.
Yes, he is just happily farting.
Oh, bless him,
Oh,
bless him.
so bad.
No, all I was going to say is that I think one of the things I personally don't speak out affirmations. I listen to mine. I've recorded affirmations and I update them as and when. And you were saying just now how we don't necessarily believe them initially, in the same way that when we're trying to visualize something that we want, we're not necessarily convincing ourselves yet. But the whole point is that when you listen to affirmations over and over again, or you say affirmations over and over again, the things that you don't believe initially, and that, you know, when you're sort of say you have an affirmation saying, you know, I am successful, or I am worthy, and you're sort of saying it in a kind of like, yeah, right. Do you know what I mean? If you're saying it in a way, or listening to it in a way that you just don't believe it, the point is that the more you do it and the more that you say it, you start to believe it. You actually start to believe it, which sounds bonkers, but it's the way that it works. And you literally see it. I kind of think about it like, you know, when it comes to reprogramming subconscious beliefs, it really is about brainwashing your own subconscious, but in the best possible way. We are brainwashing our brains, and that's what we need to do in order to get to a place where we feel more confident, or we feel more, you know, less self-doubt, or whatever it is. It really is about repetition. So many things that you and I talk about are all to do with repetition and consistency, pushing ourselves, you know, out of your comfort zone. There are just certain key things with anything to do with personal growth that are just necessary to move forward and to expand and to grow and to change your life, right?
Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, you know, and it's that's where people recoil and kind of go, "Oh God, do I have to do this stuff every day?" It's like, well, yeah, you don't have hours and hours doing it, but yeah, it's the repetition and the consistency which really does get results. Also, though, so I'm on my breathwork course, which I'm doing. I am also learning alongside this stuff. What is going to be so powerful as well is when you can get into your body and you can do some of these other practices, more somatic practices, where you go into your body, and which is what breathwork does, and you can feel the feed. That is going to, again, expedite some of this stuff, because you are actually changing your cells at the root core level to really be able to heal any sort of trauma or anything which is lurking in there. And to be able to then really feel into whatever it is you want to feel into. So whether it's confidence, you can do a breathwork session, you can do the work, and actually at the end of it, if your intention for that session is to feel more confident, you can really feel into that from a body, right from your body, and actually you're leaving your mind behind for that moment, and it can really just be so powerful. But the idea is to do that alongside the mindset stuff, but it just makes it even deeper and can speed things up. It's just amazing. I've done a couple of incredible sessions recently where really focusing on feeling powerful and feeling into being, you know, your true authentic self. And you come out of it just kind of almost like wanting to roar, going, ah, you know, I am so powerful. So yes, so I'm going to be excited to be able to share all of that when you know, a month or so down the line. So yeah.
Well, I'm definitely going to get you. I mean, if you're up for it, get you in to do a breathwork session in my new membership, which starts in July.
Thrive Solo, love the name, brilliant.
Thanks, Polly. Yeah, Thrive Solo. We did a vote. I put the three names were Thrive Solo, Solo Sisters, and the Spinster Sanctuary. And funnily enough, the Spinster Sanctuary was right at the bottom, and then Thrive Solo was like the clear winner. But no, I mean, I would love you to come in and do a breathwork session. As one of your practice sessions. And again, we've talked about breathwork so many times, but both of us do it, and it is incredible. It's so powerful. In fact, I was listening to a podcast. There's a podcast called the Science and Spirituality podcast, which basically, you know, kind of marries up science and spirituality, sort of a la Joe Dispenza, which I love, and I know you do too. And he was this guy, one of the guys, was talking about how powerful breathing is, and how, you know, because we take it, obviously we take it for granted, but actually if you do things like breath work, we don't realize how incredibly powerful it can be and what a difference it can have on our lives. But you just said now, which kind of made me laugh, because it's so damn true. You know, you've gotta, like, you gotta do things every day. And in the same way that, you know, everyone's very happy to go onto Instagram every day and scroll through their feed, we have, if we want to make our lives better, it's very simple. We have to make the changes. We have to do the things that we don't necessarily want to do. We have to do them, and we have to make the decision to do them. I mean, it's, you know, like anything, like meditation, like gratitude, like breath work. I don't do these things every single day, but I do them most days. And it is, and again, when it comes to shifting your subconscious beliefs, because that is what we all need to do in order to change our lives, when it comes to things like that, you know, we've really just got to get over ourselves and think, well, if I don't do this, then nothing's going to change. So if I'm happy with nothing changing, and, you know, me like basically living Groundhog Day and doing the same old thing for the rest of my life, that's fine. But if I'm not okay with that, then I'm going to have to do something. And, you know, I think one thing that is so incredibly important is we have to have constant vigilance around our thoughts. It's just as simple as that. It is really constant throughout the day, vigilance. But the thing is that where some people kind of roll their eyes and like, oh God, it's just too much like hard work. Well, actually, like anything, as you do it more, it becomes more automatic and it becomes easier, and therefore it doesn't feel like such a pain in the arse, you know. So we've got to do these things, and the, you know, going back to confidence, if we want to feel more confident, we have to take those tiny actions to make ourselves feel, you know, we need to give ourselves a reason to have confidence in ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, you know, it's about, you know, it's going back to what do you really want. You know, what if you really want it, then it requires something. Nothing changes unless nothing changes. You've got to make that choice. And you know, it's funny. I was speaking to a client on Friday, and yeah, it was interesting because she really, really wanted to change stuff, but then, you know, there was quite a lot of reluctance to kind of, you know, make those changes. So I really was like, you know, how willing are you to feel different to how you're feeling now? And it's like, oh, I'm really, really willing. It's like, well, it's going to require, you know, we can do some hypnosis. I'm going to do what I can to help you along that pathway, but it is going to require that you are going to have to, yeah, make some shifts as well. And that is the reality of it, you know.
And it's how resistant people are to actually putting the work in.
Yeah.
It's but we're all so, and I get it. I do get it, because, you know, that used to be me. It's like, oh yes, I know I need to do this and I know I need to do that, but can't really be bothered. So it really,
how often do you say to yourself, oh, I know I really ought to do that, but it's actually like, okay, well, if you're really not doing that thing, why not? Is it because actually you really don't want to do it, which is fine? Then find something else you do want to do, because obviously there's no point doing something you don't want to do. But if you really know that you want to do that thing because it's going to lead to something else, then look at, you know, what are the reasons you're not doing? Is it because of a lack of courage to take that first step? Is it fear of failure? What are those, you know, what is holding you back? Because there'll be something holding you back. It's probably some subconscious thought in your mind which is holding you back. So that's when you need to start really thinking seriously about the reprogramming. Anyway, Lucy, I've seen it's 9:34.
Oh, it's lovely to speak to you. Now, listen, I'm away next week. I'm away for a week from Saturday, so I think we might have to give it a miss, because I'm going to be in France, in the south of France.
Oh, amazing!
So should we skip next week and do it the week after? Only because I just yes, I mean, I could do it from there, but I guess where I'm going to be, because it will be 10 o'clock in the morning, and if I'm out and about, then
yeah,
you know what I mean.
Yeah, let's have a week off. Amazing, Lucy. Have an amazing time.
Thanks, love. I will do. But I'll see you the week after.
Yeah,
cool.
Perfect.
All right.
All right. Take care.
Bye, love. Bye.